Do we want to move this? Okay. I can stand on this side. And we've got everything we need, right?
Like, do you have stuff?
I have, yeah. So I'm not sure if I'll actually say it or if I'll just open up the mic to people to come up and say. I might, because I still have some things. There's just one story I couldn't remember.
But don't open up the mic now.
You don't
Not
think so?
until after the
I think so? Yeah. Okay. What time are we at right now? Everything close to 3, eh?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're good? Okay. And Shirley just got up. All right, everybody, if we could get everyone to take their seats. Shirley, I'm looking at you. Thank you. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. My name is Deb Elliott.
I was running away. I'm Mary Elliott, and I am married to Les and Shirley's youngest son, Ryan.
I'm married to Wade.
I'm sorry.
This might be the worst comedy show you've been to this year, but we are celebrating Les, who was indeed a jokester, so I think it's only fitting that we throw a few bad jokes in there today. Yeah, it's Les's celebration of life, and we are so blessed and grateful and thankful that you all made it out here today. It's overwhelming, really.
We wouldn't have missed it.
Yeah. Thank you, Brian. We're so glad you're here. You will see Brian featured prominently in the video slides as well. He may have a longer beard in them and a red suit, perhaps. There's a couple of those, right, Broda? Yep. Oh, wait a sec, yeah. Sorry, we got mixed up here. This is my part. Okay, so we want to remind you that yes, it is a celebration, and I think we all know that Les would not have wanted it any other way, which is why we have the beer and wine, which you may be finished now because I'm a slow server, but we can assure you that although there will definitely be tears today, we hope there will be many, many laughs, lots of smiles, remembering and reminiscing about the many, many good times we were all so very lucky to have with Les. So Les didn't want this. He said, no, the family can order pizza and you can get together and that's that. And we said, no, that really is not gonna work for us. There's just too much about Les that we all loved, and clearly he touched many, many lives, and so he did agree that we could do something, said it would be fine. He just didn't want any fuss made over him, but you know what? It's what we're doing, and he'd likely be pissed anyway because he's not here to enjoy everybody here, all the people he loved and who loved him all in one room together. So I think now it's up to Mary to make a toast here.
All right, so in the first of what we hope to be many this afternoon, please raise your glass to Les.
To Les.
Okay, and so now at this time, we'd like to call on Wade and Ryan to say some words about their dad. Wade, you want to go first?
I can, yeah. I'd like to thank everyone for coming today. You being here means a lot to us, to me, to Ryan, mom especially. I've been struggling with this for the last 10 days of what to say. But at the same time, I have a lot to say about my dad. He was so much to so many people, and it's probably the biggest thing I hope everyone remembers about him. He loved his family. He lived for us, me, my mom, Ryan, his grandkids, but also his sisters, Wendy, Lynn, Heather, and their families. He loved my grandma, Gladys, and he had a great relationship with my grandpa, Bob. He also loved his friends, and he loved being a firefighter. If you don't know this, my mom and my dad went camping for their honeymoon. It must have been a pretty good honeymoon because we, as a family, camped all the time. I don't even know really the reason I love camping so much, but it was the things my dad ultimately taught us. He showed us how to hammer bottle caps into tree stumps around the campfire. He taught us how to use an axe, build kindling for the fire. We played backgammon in the trailer when it was raining at night. Those are just a few of the memories that we have, that I have. As soon as the snow was gone, we would camp as often as possible in Alberta. It seemed like we were gone every 4 days. We'd be gone to Red Lodge, North Ghost, Mount Kidd, wherever. Then we got a boat, and we'd head out to Little Bow, Sandpoint, Idaho, Harold Park, the Okanagan, the Mitchells. Anywhere there was a lake, my dad would spend hours driving the boat with us kids to learn to water ski, kneeboard, tube. He loved it, and he loved being in the hot sun. He really did so much for us as kids, and he seemed to love every minute of it. I can remember when I was 16, I got my first car, little red Acadia. Needed some TLC, so my dad and I embarked on a mission to clean the car up that I loved so much. So my dad moved his cars out of the garage. We moved my little Acadia in there and we started sanding it down. Did the body work, primed the car, and got it ready for the paint job. I think we ended up probably paying more for the paint job than what the car was actually worth. But it was that time spending it with my dad, learning how to do basic work on the car, and that was worth more than anything. My dad was always involved in everything we did, from hockey to gymnastics, and finally for me, my wrestling. Him and my mom would sit in whatever gym for hours on end, waiting for one of my matches to come up. And when it finally did, and it was time for me to wrestle, my dad would pop up in the corner with a video camera there, taping the match. My dad, as you know it, wasn't mobile in his wasn't as mobile as he would have liked to have been with his grandkids, came around, but he made so many memories with him. Sorry, I lost myself there. And I know some of his best memories are with them and some of theirs as well. He and my mom had a place at Pine Lake. My dad would zip around in his golf cart or his little red scooter, taking the kids for ice cream down at the cafe. And then, of course, they'd head there Monday nights for fish and chips. Just the grandkids, my mom and dad. We'd be gone back in Calgary. He loved being at Pine Lake. He loved watching the grandkids play in the sprinkler, slip and slide down the makeshift slip and slide that my mom made on the side of the hill by their RV. My dad would spend hours out in the hot sun. Partly, it brought him joy to be with his grandkids and just watching them. But I also think part of it was to piss my mom off. Because he knew the heat wasn't good for his MS, but he loved the heat anyways. My dad was also a very social guy, and he loved his friends. The friends we know growing up are still the same ones here today. I can remember my parents hosting many hockey parties for myself, my hockey team, Ryan's hockey team. There was always so many pigs on our front lawn, flamingos, toilet paper for whoever's 40th birthday was being celebrated. Our parents also really loved hosting murder mystery dinners. I can remember them having one out at Mount Kidd. They brought hay bales. They dressed up, I don't know if it was farmers or whatnot. But myself, my brother, Dwayne, we were embarrassed as hell. We disappeared for hours. And then it just so happened our parents had to come find us because we never came back to the campsite.
That's not exactly true. Brian and your dad laid in the
But we didn't come back, so you had to come find us. But really, ultimately, I'm sure that was their plan to get rid of us as they dressed up and tried to embarrass us as much possible. And they had a good party that night. My dad just really loved being around people, and I think that's maybe one of the reasons he loved being on the fire department. He loved the job, being in the halls, being with the guys. We liked it because he cleaned our vehicles. He eventually became a captain on B shift, and I think, and I know he was proud of that, and we were equally as proud of that. I think the day he retired from the job was probably the toughest day he had, until this. I'm gonna miss my dad, but I'm thankful to have had so many memories with him. I'll never forget the times we shared or the things he taught me. He taught me to be a good person, but most of all, he taught me how to be a good husband, a good father to my kids. So if you don't mind, I'd like you guys all to raise your glass to my dad.
Glass.
I'm gonna try, but I'm not really good at this type of stuff. And then if it's up standing up here telling a bunch of jokes and crap and stuff like that, I could probably do it a little bit like my dad, but I'm probably not gonna do so well here. But yeah. I'd like to thank everyone for coming. Really, really do appreciate it. You know, my dad was an incredible football father. He worked so hard to give our family everything. He never asked for anything. He never wanted anything. My dad never.
You can do it.
Dad never asked for anything, but he gave us everything. He showed us what strength and courage are whenever he put his firefighter uniform on and headed off to work. He was so proud of being a firefighter. But not only did he put his life on the line every day he set off to the fire hall, he also worked extra shifts at Totem to provide me and Wade with all the extras in life. Hockey, wrestling, camping, water skiing, the list goes on. Dad was always our second biggest cheerleader. I only say second because it's hard to outdo Mom and her cowbell. He was there at the practices or the games, it didn't matter. But he was always there to support us. Dad loved being outdoors and soaking up the sun. Some of my best memories with Dad are the weeks we spent camping and boating in Sandpoint in BC and around Alberta. Dad would tow us behind the boat for hours on end. He loved being in the captain's seat, sharing beers. Sharing beers with friends and making memories with all of us. The times we shared camping and boating were so important to me. It's something I've carried on and share with my kids and our friends. I did this crazy thing once and I bought a motorhome online. But it was in California and I was in Calgary. At first, I thought it would be a fun trip for me and my wife, Mary, and our son, Jack, who was 2 at the time. But when Mary was unable to travel, Dad stepped up and said he'd go with me to California to pick up the motorhome and spend days driving back to Calgary. Even though Dad wasn't in a position to drive, he wanted to be there for me and make sure I was okay and to share the adventure in the road trip. We found out on that trip that not every Walmart parking lot is okay to overnight in. My dad loved a good laugh. He was always the jokester and enjoyed playing the odd prank. Dad and his friends enjoyed a good time, whether it was out at a lake camping or in and around Calgary. There was always a pig around and someone tied up in the back of a truck. Dad never stopped joking and laughing. He never complained. And he just kept fighting with a smile. The last few months and weeks, Dad always had a joke to crack or some smart-ass remark that kept us laughing. Family meant everything to my dad. Between me and Wade, we've got 7 kids. Dad was so proud to be their papa. Our kids brought joy to my dad, and they were so important to him. He enjoyed the love and the laughter and the life that the kid brought to Nana and Papa's house. Dad loved knowing what the kids were up to and what was happening in their sports and school and other activities. He would drive his scooter to the ball diamond and watch the kids play softball, or come to the rink and watch a hockey game. And when he wasn't able anymore, he was the first to ask how the game went. He was thrilled just to be able to watch the grandkids play or even just catch a clip of them on a video. If you knew my dad, then you would know how kind and caring he was. He was always there to lend a hand and help out as long as he could, and even when his body really couldn't. Dad was so tough and so darn stubborn. He never asked for anything, and he never asked for help. He pushed himself so hard through his battle with MS, and he never complained, and he never gave up, and I saw him fight. He was there for me, and worried for me, and asked how he could help me. He showed me love, and he always was concerned for me, and it was never about him. He lived a life of service to others, and never asked for a thing in return. Mom and Dad were married for an unbelievable 53 years. Mom and Dad were married for an unbelievable 53 years. They were the loves of each other's lives, and they loved each other so much. Mom, you were always so strong and caring for Dad. You stood steady by Dad's side for years, loving him and caring for him constantly. You were even there by his side in his final moments. That is love, true love. We miss you already, Dad. But you and Mom have been through a lot. Watch over us and guide us and know that you will always be in our hearts. You deserve a rest, Dad. May you be at peace. I love you. To Dad.
Last.
Okay. Told you there'd be some tears. But I hope lots of laughs too, because Les was an open book. I think what you saw was what you got. There were no pretenses with him. And he did have a big impact on everyone, including his family and his grandkids. And so I think if she's up for it, I'd like to call one of his 5 granddaughters up to introduce herself and share a few words about her papa.
Well, there's a lot of people. Hi, for those who know me and for those who don't, my name's Blake, and I'm the 3rd oldest grandchild out of the 7. And I'm not lying when I say this, my grandpa used to call me his favorite all the time. Growing up, I only knew this form of my grandpa, his MS, which, as everyone knows, restricted him from participating in normal activities that my grandma could. My Nana used to say all the time, I wish you could have met the way Papa was before he got sick. As much as I wish I could, I wouldn't change him for anything. Although, I wish I could change that one time, where I wish he would have picked me up from school in a car instead of his red scooter. Yes, one time when I was sick, my papa picked me up from school in his red scooter. My blue backpack shoved into the little basket on the front while we cruised back up to his house. We all had so many great memories with Papa. From making us soup when we were sick, to attaching a wagon on the back of his scooter, wheeling us back up to the cabin because our legs were tired. And if you watched the video, you probably saw that picture. My Papa loved his board games, and at almost every family gathering, me and him would play this baseball game. He won every single time. He wasn't even good at it, but I'm pretty sure it was just pure luck. He was a simple man, and as my Nana said, he had a lot of things unsaid, which I find that hard to believe, because every time, sitting around dinner, while he was drinking his Pepsi, every opportunity he got, he would roast us so hard. When my grandpa decided to stop treatment, we all knew what the outcome was going to be. We just didn't know when. My papa wanted to be home where he could be around his grandchildren, talking and laughing and just hearing them run around his house. We were what made him happy. I remember a few weeks after he got out of the hospital, it just so happened to be a week after Jack's wrestling tournament, me and my mom went to visit him. And thank God for my mom and her inner addiction to her phone. She took so many videos of Jack. We showed my grandpa the videos while my mom was cutting his hair, and for the longest time, I'd never seen my grandpa light up the way he did. He was smiling from ear to ear and cheering Jack on through the phone. It was definitely a relief to see that he still had that spark in him. Sorry. Going on forward with my life, I now do everything for my papa. If I can't decide between 2 options, my Nana said to just do what she thinks Papa would do. I look for him in the sky every night. He makes the prettiest sunsets. You know, the orange, yellow, and pink ones. I love you so much, Papa. And now I'd like to share a poem I wrote for him. And if any of you guys have the cards, if you flip to the back, you can read along with me. Okay. God saw you trying your best, but decided to let you rest. With tearful eyes, we watched you slip away. Although we love you dearly, we could not make you stay. Your golden heart stopped beating, and hardworking hands were put to rest. God broke our hearts to prove us he only takes the best. Thank you.
And because she's underage, I'll just respond to us. Okay, I believe I've got a letter that Les's oldest sister, Wendy, sent. She couldn't be here, but hopefully she's catching us on the live stream. She sent a lovely letter to share, and just more insight into Les. My brother, my friend Les, a few memories to share in the lifetime we had together. He was my best friend growing up from diapers to high school. We did everything together as toddlers and as we grew older. Because he was my friend, not just my brother, we were always together, cooking potatoes in the fire while cleaning up the garden with Dad, marbles every night after supper. We slept outside under the stars, trying to see if we could see the sunrise. Cowboys and Indians on the back step railings. We rode our bikes around town, out to the Lethbridge TV tower to be on kids' vids, We played hockey on the outside rink until we couldn't feel our toes, and then we would walk home. We were permanent fixtures at the playground across the road for our summers. He carried me home when I fell and broke my leg one winter's night. We had the occasional fights, but made up pretty quick. We were always involved in the pranks in the neighborhood. Shocks me about Wendy, not less. In general, we just hung out all the time. I was always so proud of my brother. He was good looking, athletic. He got to play hardball, because girls weren't allowed to play, and he was always fun to be with. I wanted people to know who he was. As we got older, we both got married at 19. I moved to Ontario, and Les and Shirley moved to Calgary. They were visiting us one year. I had to let them know, after talking with Shirley, she was pregnant with Wade. They didn't need a doctor, they had me. For years, we came to Calgary with our family to visit. Les and Shirley picked us up at the airport. An awesome meal awaited us and a spot for all of us to lay our heads. Hospitality was exceptional. Our oldest son talked and talked about his time with Les and Shirley when he spent one summer camping with them. On another occasion, we had an opportunity to camp and boat and water ski at Little Bow. What a wonderful time with the families that gathered. We had many family fun gatherings over the years together. Later in life, as my folks got older, while we were visiting in Lethbridge, Les and Shirley always made the trip to visit us there. We truly appreciated that more than words can say. My brother was easygoing, fun-loving, kind to all, forgiving, always ready to lend a helping hand. He enjoyed his family and friends getting together. I was so proud of him as a firefighter in Calgary. They were family to him, and he loved being there. I think he would have liked to have just slipped away, not wanting to cause anyone tears or sadness. Wendy found a little saying that she thought suited him very well, and we thought it might be nice if Les's two oldest grandchildren, or his two grandsons, two oldest grandchildren, came up and read it. So I'm going to ask Jack and Anna to come up and read what Auntie Wendy sent.
Okay, the poem's called He's Gone. You can shed tears that he's gone, or you can smile because he's lived.
You can close your eyes and pray that he will come back, or you can open your eyes and see all that he has left.
Your heart can be empty because you can't see him, or can be full because of the love that you've shared.
You can turn your back on tomorrow and live yesterday, or you can be happy for tomorrow because of yesterday.
You can remember him because he's gone, or you can cherish the memories you have together.
You can cry and close your mind, be empty and turn your back, or you can do what he would want, smile, open your eyes, love, and go on.
Thank you. And Wendy's, the last thing she wrote was, I think this is good for all of us. My brother's words to his sisters were, don't cry for me, don't be sad, I'm okay. That's my brother, caring about others. I need a toast. How about you guys? All right. To Les. One more time. Okay. Yeah, I think we're gonna. I'll do that after. Maybe. Okay.
So, at this time, I'd like to invite the Calgary Fire Department to do the cap and flag presentation to the family. Shirley.
thank you to the Calgary Fire Department, and I know on behalf of Shirley as well. This means so much for her, so much to her. Words are very hard to come by, but she wants you to know how much she appreciates each and every one of you for being here, for creating so many memories with her and Les over the years. And just being here for the support. Make sure you drop her a line, send her a text. She probably won't text back, but she'll get it. Call her if you want. Stop in for coffee. At 2 a.m. even, because she stays up late apparently now. That's kind of the formal part of what we had planned today. We're going to start the karaoke now, so if you have a request, I'm kidding. But we do want to open the mic to anybody if you want to share any memories. Let us know how you know Les. Raise a toast, anything. It doesn't have to be much. I'll start. Don't worry, I'll get you going. Never met a Mike I didn't like. Right, Rhoda? Talbot? Hey, right? Gosh, I need my notes though. So bear with me. But really, if it's about sharing memories, right? We want to remember the good times, and there were so many of them. Les was really such a special guy, and you know, I feel fortunate. It's probably the only reason I married Wade was because of Les. I don't know how much you know about our story. It starts when Wade was on a break with his then girlfriend. Just kidding. No, that's a true story, but that's not relevant to right now. I had moved away and came back to Calgary and had nowhere to live, and so Les and Shirley graciously offered their home to me, and I accepted. And, and so that's when I really got to know Les. So a lot of you will remember the 4-level split, the block people, right? Yes, the 4-level split on Pine Ridge Close. Wade and I had a room in the basement, and I worked late shifts, so I would get home late and I would sleep late. However, I had a 6 a.m. alarm clock, also known as Shirley, who would come down. I swear to God, she wore her heels. I swear to God. Come boom, 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 down the stairs, 6 a.m. to iron her clothes for work. So every morning, 6 a.m., boom, I wake up, because she's dainty, but not quiet. So then, anyway, I go back to sleep for a few hours. Wade would go off to school or work or whatever he was doing. Shirley would be gone, and I'd, roll upstairs around 11 o'clock, noon, whatever it was, and there would be Les with lunch. It was beyond breakfast, so he'd have lunch. So all the time, he did it all the time without complaint. And so that was the start of when I really got to know the type of person Les was. So he would have lunch ready for me. We would chat, about everything and anything. So a few things that I learned about him, and I didn't get to finish what I was writing. I was doing other things, so this might be long and winded and whatever. And you guys don't worry; they don't have to be quiet. I'll tell them the stories later. Don't worry. I'll have Debbie's story time in the corner with the kids. So first thing I learned about Les loved the ladies. Right? Yes. Not like just. I think thanks to Wendy and Heather and Lynn and Gladys, his mom, all very strong ladies, all the best personalities you can imagine, like funny as hell, quick-witted, strong, take no shit from anyone. That's and then Les, the only boy in the family. So I think he learned a lot from them, and I think he really appreciated women. He was the type of guy, he was such a gentleman through and through, first of all. So he's the type of guy that he's holding the door open for you, he might tell you an inappropriate joke. But, you know, it was all good. He really was a gentleman. He always treated women with respect and as equals. And that was the type of guy he was. He was just so great in that sense. And maybe that's why, you know, I knew right from the get-go that Les had always wanted a daughter. So Wade, supposed to be Renee, clearly that didn't happen. Candace and Nicole, they tried to help out, dressing Rye in bikinis and putting makeup on them. Clearly that didn't work out. But it wasn't to be. Fortunately, the boys, you know, and Mary and I had a hand in it too, I guess. Gave them 5 granddaughters, all sitting up here today. And, you know, they all are a little piece of Les. They all have a wicked sense of humor. They're all very quick-witted. They all tell pretty bad jokes too. And they all have no bullshit attitudes too. Even Kylie. Sorry, earmuffs. I know. He also has 2 very strikingly handsome and kind-hearted grandsons who are very much like him in that sense. And I think you could probably tell from Wade and Ryan today, they're kind of the guys, but they really have a sensitive side that's very much Les. Another thing I learned from Les, and that's okay, guys. And that's probably from the Elliott side, I think, right? Yeah, totally. One of the other things I learned, well, I mean, you guys know, he loved his friends. He was such a people person. He loved people. He loved meeting people. He loved talking to people. So before he passed, a friend of mine was moving from Vancouver, and she asked me to go look at some rental properties for her. So I went to one in our area, and I was talking to the owners, and they said, oh, yeah, well, we live in the area as well. We just live over on Pantego Road. It's like, Pantego Road? Well, my in-laws live there. Oh, really? I'm like, yeah, I think they're the only bungalow on the block. Oh, I know Les. Whenever I walk my dog, he's always in the driveway, and we chat, you know, as I'm passing, and that was Les. And then another friend of ours, one of our very first neighbors, after Les had passed, she sent me a quick text, and she just said, you know, I'm very sorry for your loss, but I bet you anything he's up there in heaven just causing mischief. And this is somebody who only knew Les, you know, not like just meeting him in passing at our house, you know, a couple times. But you just knew him. There were no pretenses. Les was Les, right? Like, what you saw was what you got. And he definitely was a good neighbor. Right, Murdog? Les, good neighbor. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, yeah. Well, okay, so that comes from the block, right? So we have the people that the families that grew up on Pine Ridge, and there's lots of pictures, and the kids, you know, we know, like, I mean, I married into the block, so now I know them all too, but everybody still keeps in touch. Our kids now, you know, like that one. Is that Tyler? Jeez Louise. Like, it's crazy. Like, we're going through these generations that started with Les and Shirley, and it's simply amazing. There was another story from Les's friendships. He somehow convinced a guy, one of his neighbors, to buy him cigarettes. And it took Shirley forever to find out how he was getting these bloody cigarettes. But the guy down the street, he convinced him to go buy him cigarettes and bring them to him because he could no longer take his scooter. And even the scooter, he was legendary in the neighborhood. He would go through the drive-through bank teller on his scooter. It's awesome. And people knew him. They recognized him. The last thing I'll say, because, again, I could be up here all day, but the last thing I'll say is the one thing he definitely, I don't know that you can teach it, but you can definitely demonstrate it, and that was unconditional love. the love he had for his boys, first of all the things he did with him. Even today, I thought I knew everything, and even today when Wade and I were getting ready to come here, he was sharing stories with me that I didn't even know. I had no idea, you know, like the bottle cap on the tree stump. That was something, because we know, like, we have cans, right? We don't have the pop tops, so it's not something that we've done with our kids. Well, we can, but you know, just lots of things. Even the acacia, the little red acacia, that Wade was so proud of for some reason. You know, all those things. I'm still learning things about Les that are just incredible, but it was that unconditional love, and the one thing, the love that him and Shirley shared, I think that one has been probably the most impactful in my life. And Rye said it best in his speech, so I won't go over everything, I'll spare you that. But it's just something that, you know, I've been so blessed to see. I'm glad my kids see it. I'm glad they know it. I'm glad they felt the love from Les. I'm glad that they have the memories that they have. I'm glad we all have those memories, because as sad as we are that he is no longer with us, you know, I can't wait to continue the conversations and talk about the fun times. And hopefully some of you will come up too and share some of those that we might not know. So don't be shy. It's an easy little toast. You can, you know, you don't have to. Just putting it out there. But if you do, please feel free. And if not, is the food out? Food is out. If you're hungry, food, drink, everything's back there. But if you want to come up, by all means. Brian turned away right away. He made eye contact. Macmillan. Yeah, I'm calling out you. He looked right at me, and as soon as I said, you want to come up, he's like, phew. You don't have to. But if you do, if you want to share anything, say anything, even just raise your glass to us, by all means, please come up. And again, thank you everyone for coming, and for being here with us, for being here for Shirley, for the grandkids. I think, you know, they didn't get to see some of the stuff that Nana and Papa partook in when they were younger. So it's nice for them to see everybody and enjoying this too. So thank you so much, everyone.